Hey practitioners, we're back with a collaboration with Observe Entertainment. Here we go. When was the last time you turned on the radio and smiled as you heard your favorite song over the speakers? In fact, when was the last time that you felt any emotion that seemed to be inspired by music? The average person listens to 4 hours of music a day. This is split between radio, streaming services like Spotify or Pandora, and personally owned musics like CDs, vinyls, downloads, podcasts, and other things. Studies show that roughly 276 million Americans alone listen to broadcasted radio every day. Another study in the UK, funded by a learning audio company, discovered that the average person will spend roughly 13 years of their life simply listening to music. Music has a very powerful effect on the human mind, and you can even use it to your advantage. However, it is very important to keep in mind that there are two different sides of the coin of music. One side is simply listening to music, and then the other side is actually making music. Though not as large as the number of music listeners, the number of people that play an instrument in the US is still enormous. 18 million. If you're not one of the 18 million Americans that can play an instrument, don't worry. Both playing and listening have large benefits for increasing cognitive function. Let's look at what listening to music does to the brain's functionality. First, listening to music can influence your mood. As to why certain songs make you feel happy or sad, that might be a video for another time. However, if a person listens to happy music and wants to feel happy, they will find themselves feeling happier. In the same way, if they listen to emotional or sad music and they want to feel sad, they will find themselves feeling more sad. The key to remember here is that the person listening to the music must honestly desire to feel a certain way in order for the music to affect them. A person who is passively listening to a happy song and doesn't desire to feel happy is far less likely to feel an emotional change than the person who desires to be happy. Part of the reason for this ties into the well-known phrase, mind over matter. Now, this phrase is usually discredited as an artistic way to try harder. However, there is more to this saying than one might expect. For instance, scientists at Harvard performed a study on Tibetan monks as they meditated. In the experiment, wet sheets were placed around the monks as they were placed in a really cool room, 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Instead of shivering uncontrollably, the monks began to exude an abnormal amount of body heat due to their meditation. It became so extreme that one of the researchers even noticed steam rising from their wet sheets. There are many more examples of how your brain controls your body. In fact, body language is one of the only things that you can fake until you make it. However, the key is to remember that if you truly want to be happy while listening to cheerful music, you are likely to succeed. Further on that note, when listening to music that you truly enjoy, your body will release dopamine, which is the feel-good neurochemical. This will chemically assist you in feeling happier. Also, listening to music can also assist your neurological productivity. In a fashion, a study was performed that established that a person listening to Mozart while working was more productive than a person working in silence. The effect was thus named the Mozart effect. However, it is not necessary that the music being listened to has to be Mozart, or even classical music in general, rather that it just be music that the listener enjoys. This means that if a person greatly enjoys listening to Johnny Cash, it could help them in their productivity if they listen to this music while working. However, it is absolutely key that the person is engaged in the music to reap the benefits. In other words, they must feel the music to be affected by it. Simply having it on in the background will have little to no effect. Johnny Cash, G-Eazy, or Skillet, whatever you enjoy works. However, this brings up a new study that suggested that the music itself might not have an effect on the productive functionality of the brain, but rather that it had an effect on the emotional functions of the brain. This, in turn, has a positive effect on productivity. Regardless of the means, the end was still the same. Listening to music can help a person be more productive at their work. Listening to music can also bring back memories, both good and bad. This closely ties into the first method of how music affects the brain. As we go through life, we attribute certain songs to certain events in our life. For instance, many people will put together a breakup playlist during a difficult relationship split. At the time, the songs may be meant to help them process the emotions of the breakup, but in the future, those songs will remind them of the emotions and memories they felt during that time. Part of the reason that these emotions can be attributed so strongly to a piece of music is due to how auditory cortex stores sound. For instance, the brain stores visual information a certain fashion due to the fact that a person can look over at something multiple times repetitively in a very short period of time. However, when hearing a sound, you can only hear that sound once until you play it again at a later time. Think of the difference between listening to the radio and reading a magazine. The radio can only be heard once at a particular given time, whereas a magazine can be read repeatedly. Due to this, the brain has developed the ability to hold on to echoic memory, slightly longer or more stronger than iconic memory. With that as the foundation of attaching auditory signals to memories, it becomes less curious why emotional memories are so easily tied to the sounds of music. Listening to music can give you energy to work or work out longer. Studies have shown that a person who listens to specifically selected songs will perform much better at the task at hand. There are a couple reasons for this. First is that the beat of the music sets a pace for our bodies to match while working or working out. The faster the beat, the faster the pace that we subconsciously set for ourselves. The next reason takes us a bit deeper. As music enters our ears, the vibrations are sent to our brain via electrical signals, which our brain then translates into the sound of music. As our brain works in time with the music, translating signals as it receives them, it sets a pattern for the rest of your body. This includes heart rate, blood pressure, metabolic rate, and even things like physical mental stress and fatigue. There are more ways that listening to music can affect the brain. However, now we are going to look at how playing music affects the brain. Now, it is common knowledge that actually playing a musical instrument is beneficial to the brain as it grows and develops. However, new studies have shown that it's not enough that a person simply takes music lessons and learns how to play an instrument. Rather, they must be engaged and interested in learning before the brain begins to show the effects. This means that the kid who sits at his or her desk and doodles all throughout band is not going to reap the same benefits as a kid who is actively involved in the class. Therefore, if a person wishes to reap the benefits of playing an instrument, it cannot just be any instrument. It must be one that they are passionate about. Whether it's a young boy who wishes to learn how to play the harmonica, or a teenage girl who deeply desires to learn the violin. As long as they are passionate about learning and enjoy the instrument, it will benefit them enormously. In that regard, it also doesn't matter which instrument is played. A person who decides that they wish to play the drums may have the same or better benefits as a person who wishes to learn the piano. The key factor to learning an instrument is that the musician must appreciate the instrument that they are learning. But what are these benefits? Well, there's a number of ways that learning an instrument can aid the brain in its functions. Number 1. Improves verbal memory and childhood literacy. Researchers at the Auditory Neuroscience Laboratory at Northwestern University discovered that the brain of a child who received music lessons was capable of more refined reading skills. Number 2. Early musical training can increase the brain's elasticity. Number 3. Improved fine motor skills. Learning an instrument has the capability of improving your motor skills. Nearly every instrument requires the use of one specific muscle group or another. The majority of the time, the learning of the instrument will not only train those muscle groups, but it will also assist the brain in learning how to control finer movements of the muscles of the body. Number 4, it improves executive function. A study from the Boston Children's Hospital discovered a possible link between the learning of an instrument and the brain's executive functionality. Executive functions are the mental processes that allow us to plan, focus on attention, remember instructions, multitask, quickly process information, solve problems, regulate our behaviors, and adjust to changing mental demands. Number 5, it improves white matter connectivity. This is also something that is connected to meditation. In 2013, researchers conducted a study on how early music lessons affect the brain. The study showed that there were significant effects on the brain if the lessons were taken within the 6 to 8 year range. The brains of these children had stronger connections between motor regions. But why does music have this sort of effect on our brains? Well, the answer to that question was actually unknown until the 1990s, when the fMRI was created. Upon the invention of this machine, scientists discovered that music engaged and stimulated a vast amount of the brain and concordant with each other in a way that no other art or practice did. From the movement of the body, which activates the motor cortex and cerebellum, to the anticipation of flow and the tune of the song, which activates the prefrontal cortex, music woke up the brain unlike anything else known to man. So it's important not to discredit music as an enjoyable pastime or pleasant background noise. It's a brilliant medium that can be used to help your everyday life. If you're struggling to study for an exam, listening to music that you enjoy can help wake your brain up. If you're feeling sad on a certain day and want to feel better, listening to some happy songs can lift your spirits. If you wish to improve your brain's ability to function in general, picking up and learning an instrument will give your brain a noticeable boost. Finally, if you have a workout goal in mind, but feel like you simply can't push through to success, turn on a tune with a good beat and allow your body to match the pace and carry you through to the finish. These days, music is never far from reach. With smartphones and the internet, good tunes are accessible nearly everywhere at any time, so don't be afraid to listen to it. It can help you in all areas of your life. Now, before I end this video, I want to say a big thanks to Observe Entertainment. You can check out his channel in the description or at this end screen. He actually came up and wrote most of the information for this script, so big thanks to him. I hope you guys liked this video and learned something, and if you did, click the like button, or if you haven't already, the subscribe button. Thanks so much, guys.